strokes, menopause, AIDS, pregnancy, sex.
Sex? Did you say sex?
As prescribed, take your medication, exercise, and diet. On 88.5 Sufra FM, tell a friend, call your neighbor. Casualty 911 is on.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's 10 o'clock.
it's the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned into.
It's the Traffic Mix on 88.5 Supri FM.
It's 10 o'clock in Sufra St. Lucia and the Eastern Caribbean. This is what we say good morning, good morning. Welcome inside your Monday edition of the Traffic Mix. Between the hours of 10 and, of course, 11, you know we have Casualty 911. So this morning, your host is here, Fawn is here, along with a guest. Let me welcome them in. Hey, welcome, guys, inside another Casualty 911.
Good morning. Thank you, Ulan, for having us this morning. As usual, it's always a pleasure to be here on a Monday morning. Good morning to our usual listeners. And good morning to our new listeners, to all of you tuning in. We appreciate it. We look forward to some interaction with you this morning. We have a very special guest with us. It's been a while since we've had a guest in studio. It's been a while, yes. So we've been having a lot of virtual guests. Our guest today, well, he is no stranger to Sufre. I don't think we've ever had him.
Yes,
Every year we have you on the program. Boy, my memory must be not serving me too well today. So today we have with us Mr. Caleb Paul from the Substance Abuse Advisory Council Secretariat, which is a unit within the Ministry of Health. And today we're going to be talking about tobacco, World No Tobacco Day, which is coming up on the 31st of May. Even though I kind of forgot that Caleb has been here with us, I still think it would be wonderful if Caleb could tell us a little bit about himself and also a little bit about the unit, because, you know, sometimes we bring guests in and we just start talking. It's always good to have a little bit of context. So, Caleb, take it away.
All right, good morning, everybody listening to us this morning. We welcome you to the show this morning. Well, as Fawn said, my name is Caleb Paul, and I have been here around this time every year, Fawn. Probably not with you, but with probably somebody else, Louisa, sometimes. As we always try to, remember World No Tobacco Day. And being from the Substance Abuse Advisory Council Secretariat, it's our job to teach our population about the dangers of substances. We also conduct research, and one of our main duties is to pass laws and policies to protect our people from these substances. In the recent past, we have or we are trying to establish programs that would make us more on the time relevant. So in terms of when something hits us in St. Lucia, SACS is supposed to be able to inform persons that there's a new substance, there is something that is affecting people in St. Lucia, and bring that alert across the nation so that people can be aware. So that these are some of the things that we're working on. Exciting times, and I'm happy to be here with you this morning to again bring that information when it comes to the effects of tobacco on our bodies.
Yes, exciting and challenging times, I would imagine, with
Yes.
the creativity that goes into creating products with substances these days. So our theme this year, you mentioned protection, and the theme this year is protecting children from tobacco industry interference. So in as much as we probably often think of tobacco use as older, probably men,
Yes.
with pipes and cigarettes, the tobacco industry is very creative in trying to entice
Yeah.
or get younger people to start off.
Yeah.
So we know that usually tobacco users start off very young, and those who continue way into adulthood have started before they are age 18. So today we're going to explore some of the tobacco products that are available out there. I don't know where you want to start, but we'll talk a little bit about the tobacco products out there on the market, particularly probably those that are meant to entice younger people.
Yes.
And also, what are some of the effects? And we're going to have that discussion of the effects, quitting, and so on. What those, the benefits of quitting tobacco, the forms that tobacco is produced in. So you can start wherever you like, and I will butt in every now and then.
All right, no problem. You know, as you were speaking, it's important that we speak about the theme. As you said, it's World No Tobacco Day theme, international theme. And one thing about that theme is that sometimes we say probably that is not so much applicable to us, we don't produce tobacco so much and all of that. But this year's theme, you know, although we alter it for us in St. Lucia, ours is protecting the next generation, but it's simply it's a simple form of what you read, and it really goes to show how or to what extent the tobacco industry will go to get new users. Now, from the history of the tobacco industry, you would always see that tobacco always changes its form or clothes, or you know, the way to entice new persons, because the industry knows that when it has someone attached or addicted to tobacco, they possibly have them for life. So they always try to, you know, attract a set of persons that are already not using tobacco. Let me give you some examples. Yeah, marketing sales. So a long time ago, you know, tobacco was made to look like it's something for the celebrities. So every movie you would see probably the leading actor, and they used to have these people on the posters, you know, as if smoking. Some of them don't really smoke, but it's a way of selling the product. As time goes on, we see now everybody, you know, there was a crave that people wanted to be thin and slim, right? And who you think they would be attracting with that?
Women.
Women, right? So women want to. So there were not enough women smokers, so they made thin cigarettes, slim cigarettes. That was the marketing there. Now we are living in an age of technology. We are living in an age of influencers, social media. What we are seeing now is that the tobacco industry is using those influencers to push the agenda of tobacco. And that is to make it look up to the time, to make it look cool, to make it look like it's the appeal, because everybody is doing it. And now devices for using tobacco has changed. So it's no more the cigarette. We live in a technological age. It's an electrical cigarette. It's something like a pen, a USB, you know, a cool looking gadget that somebody can have. You can conceal it. Nobody can know, or nobody can, you know, classify you as a smoker. You actually, you know, blowing circles from your mouth, and you know, doing all of those. You have different flavors, but it is marketed as something less dangerous. But again, it's, as you rightly said, it's the enticement to start, because there are some of these chemicals and these flavors. You know, a big part of it is they are not labeled very well, and a lot of them would contain nicotine in it. That's liquid nicotine. That's not from the tobacco leaf itself, but liquid nicotine which some of the pods or the cartridges that go into those new devices, the nicotine in there is equivalent to about 20 cigarettes. So when
So it's more potent.
more potent.
Than,
So when a young person uses a liquid that is laced with nicotine, they are using a very powerful substance, and the studies have shown that for young people who have not reached age 25, that's when your brain has fully matured, it can cause very serious seizures because it's a very powerful amount of nicotine. So they will slip it in there. They are the flavors for sure. They are the mango, whatever, cherry, apple, and even in those chemicals, studies are now finding out that the combination of them are causing serious lung damage to children. But we'll speak a little bit more about vaping. We are seeing in St. Lucia that it's increasing. In all around us at the parties, there are shops that sell the instruments. There are bars that have stations for using bongs and those kind of things. A little different from the vape, but we are seeing that it's increasing. In our schools, we have gotten reports of children using those new devices. Now, people will say that they are new devices, they are a lot safer, but new devices, same effects, same damages,
Or
cancer
worse.
causing, or even worse. Because the delivery is quicker than a cigarette. The delivery is quicker than it is evaporated. So in there, you have the device, they must have a battery, and then a heating source as that is turned on, and it's evaporating the they call it juice. So the oils or the liquid in there, the juice in there, it starts to form a vapor, and that vapor now rests on the person's lungs, and then it condenses, and eventually a constant use of it would affect the person just like smoking tobacco. Of course, you'll escape things like the tar and all of that, but you'd get the nicotine that is what makes it very addictive. And it could work for persons who, when they are addicted to the substance already, because they are depending on the substance, that they can easily turn to a cigarette just to get that fix. So it opens the way for persons to even smoke cigarettes as well.
so would you say that there's less stigma attached to using those new devices, the e-cigs, as opposed to the regular cigarette? So if you see a 15-year-old sitting around with an e-cigarette, maybe...
Yeah, I would say that. And that's a big part of...
so it's more widely
acceptable. So persons will not tell you that, you got a cigarette or whatever. What you're doing, it looks cool. You're just blowing smoke from your mouth. As I was telling people, even make designs with it and all of that. So there's a thrill attached to it, not necessarily you are stigmatized for it. If anything, you'll attract people to you. Yeah.
Well, I see that a lot when you see the youngsters, especially the females. You see a female will have a cigarette or a number like, what? You will be like,
Yeah.
Zagel smoking, I will.
Right.
You will see her with an E, and you're like, wow. That's serious. It's a different look, a different, I don't know if it's just the mental aspect of it, but it's just different.
So the marketing is working.
Yes, it is.
And again, you see it in all the music videos,
Right.
the parties, or before you see, yeah, people don't blow that anymore. People don't really buy cigarettes. Everybody's
moving with the times.
Yes.
So do you think it might look a little bit more appealing because people may not associate it with any real dangers or ill effects?
You're right, and that's the marketing there. That it's a a safer way to use nicotine, and that what you're using don't even have to have nicotine in there. It's just juice you're in there, a flavored substance. But even burning those substances can affect your lungs eventually. The nicotine on the other hand affects your brains, as we were saying, for the young person. And one, you're becoming dependent on the substance is something else that, you know, you have to think of being addicted to nicotine itself. That, you know, there are even vapes that burn THC. So persons can get, you know, the THC vaping as well. There's no way in telling just by unless it's labeled properly, a liquid in there, what's in there. It would be based on what it does to the person using it, that, you know, they would, you know, always want that feeling like the use of any other substance. Yeah. But, you know, there's also an issue of, and persons can just search it, that being a combustible device, meaning that it has a heating substance, it has a battery, even when traveling with those things, you know, that you have to declare that you have it. It's something that, you know, would cause concern, because there are cases that these things have exploded, and you could see pictures of persons' mouths, burnt.
Wow.
Their entire mouths, been severely burnt, almost like 4th-degree burns. So it's something that persons have to be. You'll not get that from a cigarette, but a device can malfunction anytime, and especially when a device has a heating component in it, or, I mean, you have to charge some of them. So that's another danger in using the new device. But you will not see a picture of somebody's mouth being exploded with a vape.
Absolutely
You'd
not.
see the most beautiful woman vaping.
Well, maybe that could be one of the warning labels.
Yeah.
But when we talk about other more appealing tobacco products, are there others apart from e-cigarettes? And would you have an idea of how popular, how common these are in St. Lucia?
Well, not with e-cigarettes, as it pertains to tobacco, would be the most popular. As I said, of the bongs and so on, we are seeing, you know, areas having special stalls for having bongs and all of that. Nicotine can be used in that form too. But I don't want to deviate too much, but what we have found more is cannabis coming in the different forms. So we find cannabis products, you know, tin can drinks having cannabis. We find sweets, gummies, lollipops.
Again, trying to appeal to a younger,
These
audience.
things are packaged just like the sweets that, you know, you buy. So you'd buy what do you call? I don't want to put any on the spot, but Jolly Rancher, Sour Bells, Gummy Bears. And if you do not know what to look for, and we want to use your program to, I mean, the parents who are listening to pay
a little closer attention to
the packaging of it, and not just that, but, you know, when persons send things down for us from Canada, US, these things are legal there, and to pay attention to the package. You would see THC and how much is in there. You would see a little ganja leaf with a, you know, a warning sign, that triangle. So you do not be too big, so you have to look for it. Around you would see in the ingredients things like cannabis. So we see that more than, you know, tobacco being packaged in new ways. So it will be cannabis.
And the other thing I would just bring up, although we're deviating a little, but just to mention that very often in St. Lucia we repackage stuff to sell.
Yes,
So when you get it in the little Klein Island bag,
Yes.
you have no idea what package it came from. And I buy stuff like that.
We all.
A lot of us
Yeah, we
buy
all,
stuff
we
like
all.
that. So I don't know how we could be.
Yeah, and it's important that you said that, because there was a case in Jamaica in October last year where a vendor at a primary school sold repackaged cannabis lace sweets. And exactly as you said, the children would not see the original package.
Exactly.
And he was just passing that through the fence, and children would buy it. It was sour belts. That's the type of sweet. So, as you know, because THC will hit you, you would eventually feel it.
And
60
in that
students,
form, it would hit you.
60 students. It will creep up on you because it's your digestive system. It's not like smoking it. The faster smoking anything
But
is
then
the
the
fastest
effect.
way. The effect, and it will be more because you do not know the concentration. Now that's the danger, and we want to tell people in those kinds of, or using substances in these ways, there is no way of saying that the amount you get in one gummy bear is equivalent to the other one. So
It's not
it
evenly
varies.
distributed
Yes,
in each
yeah, exactly.
piece of candy.
Right. So because a lot of these things there's no specification to them. People are just doing them to get their fix or their high. So there are no controls to them, if you want to say. So that is a danger. When you buy a piece of wheat cake or wheat brownie or whatever, you cannot tell how much is in there. Right?
Exactly.
So everyone will be different.
And everybody reacts
Actually differently.
everybody's,
Right. So we want to tell parents they have to be, and as I was telling you, the students, 60 of them reached in the emergency room because of what they were feeling. Yes, 60. And then 5 of them were in serious condition. Because as you exactly were saying, these substances affect people differently. And we want to tell persons that, be aware of that. And we see things coming in all the time. And as we're on the topic of new things, new liquids, new substances, sprays, spray in your mouth, it's a sweet, it's a whatever. And then people have different
And
reactions.
the children
to
are
this.
really attracted
Yeah.
to those new things.
Again,
Yes,
packaging it in
yes.
a way that it attracts children.
Imagine you sharing with your friend. You just
Yeah.
spraying a little.
And
in
you see
each
the
person's
delivery
mouth.
system,
Yes.
it does not bring, especially for our schools, it doesn't alert our schools. It's not a joint that you have. It's not a cigarette that you have. We are programmed to think of drugs coming in that way
in that
alone.
way.
So we are more reactive when it comes to these new and emerging products that we just see the effects in our children, and then some people say that they call the priest, they call the pastor, they call
Because they have no idea that it could have been something that they ate. They just
Right.
our culture, we start to think of the supernatural, right
or
away.
spiritual. So
Spiritual, yes.
So yeah, if the schools are listening, we want principals and teachers to be aware of what comes in there. St. Lucia does not necessarily have a policy that, especially for the schools, it's something that was being worked on by the Ministry of Education. But just be vigilant, and when we see those reactions in our students, think of everything that's possible that could happen. It could be possibly a student bringing a cake in. Students sell things at certain schools, teachers, all of that. So yeah, candy, even from a vendor repackaging it, as you said. Now it does not mean that the person has any ill intent. If somebody is not aware, as I told you, they can easily think that is gummy bears and do it. So all of us have to be aware of those new and emerging substances.
Okay. Thank you for that, Caleb. I think it's so new that a lot of people are not really aware and don't really think of, our snacks, as we call them, in that light.
Yes.
But I think let us try to go back a little
Yes.
to our tobacco.
Yes.
And we'll talk a little bit about some of the effects of tobacco on the human body. You know, sometimes you'd hear people say, oh, but my grandfather used to smoke a pipe and nothing ever happened to him. What's the big deal? So let's talk a little bit about the effects of tobacco on the body.
Well, you know, as we've been saying, nicotine is one of the main substances in tobacco, and we have seen, or research shows, the effects on the young developing brain. What we're seeing in St. Lucia now is people mixing marijuana and tobacco. That is the root of all evil, if I can say that, especially COPD. COPD stems from that. So, and coming to what you said, people say that they saw their grandmother smoking in a pipe and whatever. It's a lifestyle thing too, because these people were not so much in abusing anything. It's as if now we have that concept or mentality that we can finish a substance. So everybody was in a fini warm, and they would deliberately put themselves in a setting to drink as much as they possibly can. And the same goes with any of those substances. People think that probably they would run out sometime and they have to get the most of it. So we have that in the new generation, that, you know, gene or that lure to abuse something more than those persons. They were more disciplined.
Yes, so you'd find probably after a long
A long day
of work,
or
they would
before they
sit
start
and so-
working.
right.
But the fact is they would work. Yeah.
But now you have people sitting around
Sitting
smoking
everywhere.
from morning till
Yes.
evening at intervals
Exactly.
throughout the day.
And these persons would eat properly. They would not eat ramen, white bread, or cook a rice quickly. They would not have gotten canned foods and all of that.
And I can say the food back there was a little different compared to most of the processed foods. Everything we have is fasting, processed MMG, you know, all this kind of
Yeah,
thing. But
yeah.
back then, you know,
It was closer to nature
you understand?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
because
And-
was doing a lot of backyard gardening too. You get?
and less chemicals
Less
being
chemicals.
used
Exactly.
in the production
Because, of
of
course, they had a demand
food.
as of now. Check what 20 to 40 years ago. Our population back then and now is way different.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's really all of those things, all of those things that contribute to how these substances affect us, especially tobacco. Being active, you know, tobacco affects your lungs as well, your heart, affects your. We can say tobacco affects you from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet, and that goes with the person's the rate of using tobacco. Persons smoke a packet of cigarettes a day, some 2, and all of that. And we then see that because of the increase, the effects on them, you start seeing the wrinkling, their teeth start rotting. You know, our dentists would see things like what we call hairy tongue. So yeah, it affects you. Now, for people in Soufrière who are hearing us there, and I guess we'll get to there. I don't do jump, but just because I said that about dental, the dental unit is doing a great job in, you know, there's a special slot for persons who want to quit, and that service is at the hospital in Soufrière.
and it's also available in Viewport.
In Viewport, yeah. So you can get some help there. You know, big up to Miss Yasmin.
Buren.
Miss Yasmin Buren doing a wonderful job. And the dental unit ensuring that this program continues. And, you know, we have had a few success stories from when it started. I believe close to 10 persons have stopped.
Actually quit.
Coming from a dental perspective, because again, tobacco can affect all of those.
Yes, it
For
affects
men,
the oral
yeah,
health. I
oral
mean, your
health.
breath,
Yeah.
how your teeth look.
All of those things.
All of those.
And we know that has a connection to your heart. You know, your reproductive system, men and women, women especially. Okay, at childbearing ages, who smoke, you know, you put that baby at risk if you're pregnant.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Yes, I hear you so far.
Oh Lord. Can you hear me better now?
No,
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
no, I can't.
Oh,
When I call at first, I hear somebody talking about baby and pregnant. And
yes, because you live we have on the radio shows. So did you call to make a contribution?
No, I was just calling.
Okay, well, you'll
Okay,
have to
alright.
call us back later. Right now, like I did mention, we're having a show. Okay, so call us back at 11 o'clock. Thank you. So, yeah, continue.
So yeah, as we were saying, it affects all those systems: reproductive health, your circulation, your veins start, getting hard and rigid. So that contributes to increased blood pressure. And persons can tell, even when you go to the health centers. I believe now one of the questions would be whether you smoke tobacco or not. And it has shown that if persons smoke before coming, their blood pressure would be higher. So you really cannot mask it so much. So it's one of the, and I would say this, our habits influence our health as a people, as a world, as a nation of St. Lucia. And using tobacco is one of the most avoidable risks that we can, we can protect ourselves from. There are zero health benefits in using tobacco. I mean,
We can protect
We have not found-
ourselves from if we don't smoke, but we
Yeah.
also have to take into consideration the secondhand
second-hand
smoke
smoking
aspect
as
of it,
dangerous
yes.
as, and we saw the importance, and we took advantage of a change in the law that would be done on the public health side of it. But now what we have seen, it goes for us to enforce those laws, even at major events. People, even during the jazz, people complained of being in an environment where people smoke. Not everybody wants
And
to
I
smoke.
can tell
Yeah.
you, Caleb, that is an issue at a lot of mass events
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
It could be a children's activity. You'll
Yeah, that's
find people out
unfortunate.
there, and sometimes I don't know, because to a certain extent the law allows a certain amount of cannabis. Some people have interpreted it as you can smoke anywhere.
Yeah.
You can have it and just smoke it wherever
Yeah.
without consequence.
Yeah, so our law says currently in a public space, and that public space can be an enclosed building where people share, and at those gatherings.
And just for clarity, just to explain further, does it include cigarettes like tobacco
Yeah.
and marijuana?
Any smoking.
Any smoking.
It would highlight more tobacco, but we were careful to ensure that we said smoking, because eventually we knew marijuana would get to the point where persons would, be the decriminalization of it, and persons would take that, as you were saying, as a right to smoke it where persons do not choose to smoke.
And as you said, with the mixing of tobacco and marijuana, you never know if there's tobacco. in there.
Yeah, yeah, because they use it to mask the smell and make it, as they say, smoother to smoke. So yeah, So we really want to remind persons that when they organize these events, that in order for everybody to enjoy themselves, make it smoke free, or have a space where persons who choose to smoke to go to smoke. And I guess it has to go with a lot of education, enforcement, that is done by a partner ministry, agents, department, the environmental health agency, because when planning those events, you have to have certain permissions and so on. So we want to continue to remind persons
You
that
have to submit your map
your
of
plans,
your
right?
setup
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all
yeah.
of those things.
So we want to remind persons that that is law. It passed in 2020, and we want to protect everyone. Even all of us have the right to clean air. And there's no safe level for tobacco smoke. No safe level. Somebody can tell you, okay, they can take one drink and they're okay, but I cannot tell you that one cigarette is okay.
Or
Okay,
that
for what?
inhaling
Or
second
inhaling second
smoke,
okay.
10 times for the year at different
Right.
effects.
Yeah. So
Or what effect
yeah,
it
there's
would
no
have.
there's no
Oh,
safe level, and when it comes to that as well, and I want to mention that. And speaking of COPD, there are environmental effects to it as well. Huh? So you might never have a lit cigarette holding in your hand, but you're in a household where people smoke and you are breathing in that same air. Now we always speak about second, but there's third hand smoking, smoking that, or the smoking sticks in the upholstery of your vehicle, in the upholstery of your chairs, your curtains, and all of that. For somebody who is sensitive to those things, it can affect them. People with asthma and all of that. So you want to have clean air wherever you are. If somebody chooses to smoke, encourage them to, separate themselves and do that.
How would you compare the effects of first hand versus second hand versus third hand smoke on?
Well, of course, third hand will not be as dangerous, but first and second hand, you could almost say they are equal, because you can be affected with some of the same illnesses. So there are wives who have died even before their smoking husband with things like lung cancer and all of that, because of this bringing or breathing in that air. For the person who smoke, they have a filter, that keeps some of the tan, and they are expelling a lot of the smoke. But you are breathing, you have no filter, you just breathing in everything, you taking in everything. Children too like to be around their parents who smoke, grandparents, family members. That is something that when we go to the schools, we try to bring awareness to the children that, if the person is smoking, allow them to smoke, and then separate yourselves. It might seem disrespectful for you to say, can you go somewhere else? But you have the right to be able to move yourself and protect your health that way.
With regard to the effects in children, would you say that there are any short-term, medium-term effects that we should be concerned about or raise awareness of?
Well, the short term
terms
would
of
be,
the second
yeah,
hand
with
smoke?
things like coughing and all of that. You would see that directly when, children who have asthma and so on. You could probably trigger that, because any type of smoke. And we're speaking about tobacco, but, burning bush, being around grills and all of that, high chemicals with, the fumes are strong. All of that can affect your lungs and affect children and all of that. As it pertains to, in the medium term, for secondhand smoking with children, again, if they have any of those pre-existing conditions, you would see it aggravating it over and over. And
like you brought that up, because you have parents, whether especially with those religiously culture, Rastafarianism, they tend to have the kids and smoke, with the kids. You and even as toddlers self, imagine you smoking next to a toddler.
Yeah.
What's up, happening? Already again, like every different person have different religion, different, faith.
Yeah.
Rastafari.
Yeah, and I mean, like everything, you cannot, you don't want to force something on anybody else. Your children, even if it's your faith, you want to respect that they are children, and that when they reach a level, if you are faithful in your faith, they would pursue your faith, because you would have set an example. But when it comes to our health, if our bodies are not right, we'll not be able to practice our faith. And with children, a developing body, a developing mind, we don't want to introduce them to anything that would jeopardize that development to its fullest potential.
And I agree with you, but I think the point Erlan brought up there is a very deep and sensitive discussion that, would require maybe a little bit more time and so on, because there are beliefs associated with them that would lead to, a little bit more debate and discussion.
Of course, yes.
So when we spoke about the smoking and the secondhand smoke, you mentioned that they have laws in place in St. Lucia. Would you be able to go a little bit more into detail and about what the law states? And the other thing I was wondering is, what other measures have been taken nationally? And is there anything in the works, or have we reached a certain level where we just have to try to enforce and see what happens next? And in terms of the international scene, because we are not isolated from the rest of the world.
Right.
Whatever happens out there, given the way we are all into social media and everything, it's very easy for us to be part of whatever is happening internationally.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about
as
the
you said,
measures.
internationally, the reasons, or a lot of reasons why we pass laws, is because we sign on to certain conventions. For one of the conventions that control tobacco, we call it's from the World Health Organization, the Framework of Tobacco Control Convention, and it has different articles. One of them would be to ensure that there are laws that help or protect persons from the exposure to tobacco smoke. Of course, the tobacco industry will be fighting these a lot. In St. Lucia, so that's one, we have the tobacco laws. Well, not necessarily tobacco laws, but health laws. So there's always room for improvement. So we can have an entire tobacco legislation that speaks of the age you can purchase tobacco, banning certain, as we were speaking about, flavorings and all of that. Now, even during this time, as we were speaking about protecting the next generation, we want to have our youth groups, be included in raising the awareness of the harms of the tobacco industry. So any youth group, listening and so on, we have been partnering with them, some of them, one especially that deals with the environment. We saw, that tobacco contributes to a lot of littering that affects our tourism product. I'm not sure how bad it is in Soufrière, but you'll find on the beaches a lot of tobacco butts and that seeps into the sea, the plastic and all of that, and it's one of the world's most littered objects. So everywhere, if you were to pick up all the littered pieces or butts of tobacco, you'd have a pile. So it's something that we want to bring awareness to. So not just the smoking, but the litter that is from the smoking. We don't have production here, so we don't have so much deforestation and so. But all of that in major countries, affects the environment from the tobacco industry. So a lot of time we speak about it and we think of the effects to the body, but the tobacco industry and manufacturing tobacco has its own effects on the environment. So yeah, we want to bring that to the fore and expose tobacco on its lies.
And what are some of those lies?
Some of the lies are, as we have been saying, that the new products are less harmful. That's a lie. It's just a new way of giving the same effects to a younger generation. Some of the lies are, not too many people die from it. We want to remind people millions and millions of people die every year. Every 6.5 seconds, somebody dies from something related to tobacco, whether they smoke or secondhand smoking. Secondhand smoking kills as well. So that's why there are those conventions. Another one that you might have observed, and that one was passed through the SLBS, Bureau of Standards. The packaging has changed. So you don't necessarily see so much of the brand anymore. But if you buy cigarettes, you'd see a nasty picture of somebody's mouth or lungs or something, and a huge warning that tells you tobacco kills or smoking kills or something like that.
So do we know whether that has had an effect in reducing the use of tobacco on island? Like, was there a survey?
No surveys have
before and
to
after
measure it. Since it's from the Bureau, I'm not sure that they have done a survey to see the effectiveness of it. But yeah, we'll not have that information.
Or maybe even with sales, if not.
Or decreased
sales.
Have
a look at the sales aspect of it.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I always wonder, what effect those
laws
those type of images have on the actual smoker.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Very true. There also was an increase in the tax on tobacco. So
it's much more expensive now.
Yeah. I think it's closer to about 75%.
Yeah. That's hefty.
Yeah. But you see, people still buy it. People still, because it's a chemical dependence, the addiction. Yeah. So with that, we have to offer help to people. So you see how all of those. So it's not really so much of a choice for us, but we must be in line with the conventions that we have signed on. So we have raised the taxes, the packaging, the laws in the preventing smoking in public areas, and use in indoor enclosed spaces. Now it's for us. We also monitor it, but our monitoring is through surveys. So, but for us at SACS, is the Substance Abuse Secretariat. It's really to the younger population. So, we usually monitor the use in the schools. So we have one coming. So that will be interesting. We probably would have to ask a question whether they are aware of the images and whether that would prevent them. So I'll make a note of that mental note. But that will be good information to have. So then we can ask about the vaping to the prevalence.
Absolutely.
So we hope by 20 or later this year, if not in 2025, to have completed that survey. So that part of it is monitoring as well, and we have to offer help. We have to offer persons who want to quit the help. As I told you, we have, especially through the dental clinic of the Ministry of Health, we have those, especially in Vieux-Fort and Soufrière, Miss Yasmin Buring, who is doing a good job at helping persons, go through that process. We also initiated what we call a tobacco cessation committee, and we have a group of persons who are working to ensure that that help is not concentrated in these two places but spread across the island, and get help for persons who want to quit. So all of these we are, I would say, bound to ensure that we provide for persons because of that convention, and some of them not really apply to us as it comes to the manufacturing and all of that, but these are, you would say, the major ones that we have worked on and we continue to work on. The aim really is to have laws that stamp out tobacco, and how it affects people who do not want to use it. So really to protect the majority. I think majority of persons do not smoke.
I think I can agree with that.
Yeah, I think majority of persons do not
But
smoke.
I think too, one of the things is that many people may not be aware of the law. So, if you're not really aware that there is a law that requires people to not smoke in public spaces, if you don't want to be exposed to secondhand smoke, you might be a little reluctant to speak up.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see most persons have this sign, eh?
Yeah. I was just
Yes.
going to say that. You see, the last time we were here, that's why I remember with Louisa, we had a special program that after the session here, we went in especially the bars and restaurants to install
The no
visible
smoking-
no smoking signs. Some of them had it, they printed it on paper, some of them had a little square, but we ensured that we installed them together with the council members and a few other parties. We ensured that most persons in Soufrière got a sign. That's why I remember we were here last year. It was very good exercise. People were very welcoming. The bar owners see it as a deterrent, persons who stay in there and choose to smoke, because again, not everybody smokes. Although people say that when they drink just for the sake of it, they would light a cigarette, but they're not smokers. But a lot of bar owners see it as a deterrent if the establishment has persons smoking in there. So as we say, I think there's not so much of a push against it, but you're right. I think a lot of more persons have to be aware. So actually, May 31st this year, that'll be Friday, we'll be in Dennery doing the same thing, going to the bars, and we have touched all the major, from Grosile, Vieux-Fort, Soufrière, all the major communities. So we're going in Dennery this year to do the same, hoping that and helping the business owners having that type of protection. So if they tell somebody that this is, that's the area for smoking, if you smoke here, and there are fines that go with that. For somebody, it's almost $5,000.
That's for smoking
in the place,
in an establishment.
in an establishment, even after you have been told that you should not be smoking there.
And does that apply to open air activities as well?
Any public space, yeah. For the open air, we rely on the fact that these things have to be organized and go through the environmental health department, and that at that point, one of the requirements would be that there's a designated area for smoking. Just like you'll have toilet facilities, or you have to map it out where it would be. We're hoping that would be the case for these open air activities. So bunch them all together.
I'm not sure whether that is really being done, but as you said,
Yeah,
it's a work in
a
progress.
work in progress. A work in progress.
It's a work in
yeah,
progress,
yeah.
and hopefully, we have so many activities coming up. Carnival is
Yeah,
upon us.
yeah.
Then we have Journée Creole coming on later,
Yeah, it's a
and
work
then
in
there are
progress.
always fetes in between.
Yeah, it should be a work in progress. Yeah.
And I would also go so far as to say, at least with the distribution of the signs and educating the bar owners and restaurant owners, they know that they can go to try to get law
they have some,
enforcement to come in.
Yeah. They have something to
or
back.
as we say, they are back.
Yeah, they have back. They have something to back them up.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. And I'm sure next year when you come, you'll be able to give us a little bit of a progress report.
Yes, I hope.
Because, when we speak about those things, we always like to see some kind of result, something positive coming out of all of that work, all of that, interaction with the public, the raising of the awareness and so on. So it would
next
be
year
nice
when I
to be
come,
able
I
to
would
share
have
that information.
I would have the statistics report for you from the Global Youth Tobacco Survey, hopefully. Then, as you've been saying, we'll be able to see the impact of, because some of the questions on there will say, have you seen some no smoking signs? Have you seen it on the TV? Have you seen the billboards that, go against anti-smoking? And then we would be able to gauge that. So, so we'll look forward to May 31st.
That would be great.
Or some PSs. we have some already, both in Creole and English. We could always share that.
We will share them with you, Erlen.
Yeah, and some specifically to the legislation. So we'll definitely share that. We'll share it through you, so you'll get it to the radio station.
Definitely. I look forward to that, and I think it's very important as we move into, all the activities that are coming up. We have launch here, launch there, we have Fete here, Fete there, and we have so many bars and restaurants popping up all over the place.
Yes.
So that would be wonderful. So as we get to the end of the program, I bet you didn't realize we are at the end already, Caleb. Yes, our time is running out. I think it was a wonderful discussion. It was wonderful having you here. You shared quite a bit of information, very interesting information. So as we come to the end of the program, is there anything you would like to leave with our listening public?
Yeah, just the fact that we have to be aware that the tobacco industry has one goal in mind, that is to increase the net revenue, and it would always seek to tap into a category of persons that have not been addicted to tobacco yet. Those addicted, they have already. And in our time, our generation, this new generation, it's the electronic generation. So we want parents to be aware that if you see a device, question your children about it. Don't just take it for granted like another technological device. Already our health situation in our health care system is burdened with a lot of these effects of substance use. We have a lot of COPD, so we don't want our young persons at the prime of their lives to not be able to reach their fullest potential. And the tobacco industry, the aim is that this new generation, protecting the children. So you would see an ad on TV, it would look cool, you would want to use it, or on TikTok, on Instagram. You try to get your device,
and there are always challenges on the social media platforms. The this challenge and that challenge that our children tend to be sucked into. So.
And they would not want to be left out. One device can deliver the substance to a whole group of children. You don't need a whole packet of cigarettes. You just one device because of the liquid nicotine in there. So speak to your children, inform them of the dangers. With these devices, young persons who are listening, yourself, don't fall into the trap. The tobacco, there's no health benefits to tobacco. the tobacco industry is luring you into eventually being addicted to the substance in whatever form. If it's a cigarette, if it's liquid nicotine, they would have you. Nicotine addiction is one of the hardest addictions to break. Persons have left using crack cocaine faster than nicotine because of how ingrained it becomes into the system. So we want, on this World No Tobacco Day, we want to protect the new generations. We have to be aware and vigilant, and encourage them, to find positive things to do, not to fall in the traps of the tobacco industry.
Wonderful. I think you summarized it very well there, Caleb, and I hope that your appeal will reach the next generation, the younger people out there. Thank you so much for that. Now, before we end, I just want to remind everybody that we had become so unaccustomed to having rain. We forget that we have a hurricane season coming up. This past weekend, we had some rain, and you would note that there was a lot of debris in our drains. So we need to start making preparations. Check on your guttering, clear the drains. Don't wait for gouvernement. Sometimes, our houses are at risk because the drains are clogged with dry leaves. We have so many dry leaves around the place. So we need to start check your windows, check your roof, start making the necessary checks so that we will not be too much at risk when the rain starts coming in as it should during the hurricane season. Thank you for joining us on Casualty 911 this morning. It's unfortunate that we did not have any guests, any callers to interact with our guests today. I think that would have been wonderful. But we look forward to you joining us next week on our program. I'm just trying to remember if next week Monday is a holiday, but it's actually this Thursday, right? Okay, so we look forward to you joining us next week Monday. It's always a pleasure to be here, and Caleb, I wish you safe travels back.
Thank you. Thank you.
11, 10 a.m. to 11.